At historical monuments around the globe, highly trained soldiers stand guard through blinding snow, pouring rain, and all hours of the night. They exhibit a level of discipline and self-control that requires months of intense psychological conditioning. The British Royal Guards maintain this exact same stoicism. They are in superb physical shape, capable of holding perfectly still for hours on end, while actively securing the perimeter of the monarchy. But because of their ornate historical uniforms and highly choreographed movements, throngs of tourists flock to these sites every single day with a massive misconception. Visitors often assume that because a guard is performing a ceremonial duty, they are bound by some archaic rule to remain completely passive. People treat them like theme park characters, silent props placed there strictly for a fun photo opportunity. But these are active duty military personnel. They operate under a strict, calculated set of rules of engagement, and they are fully authorized to neutralize civilian interference to protect their post. The first rule of a ceremonial patrol is that the guards do not alter their path. They march on a rigidly defined route, and they do not stop or step aside for anyone. Yet, oblivious tourists constantly wander directly into these patrol paths at places like Windsor or Buckingham Palace, often with their backs turned to take a selfie. When this happens, the guard engages the first level of their escalation protocol. Instead of breaking stride, they issue a booming, standardized verbal command, a deafening shout designed to clear the path instantly. If the civilian freezes or fails to move out of the way in time, the guard will follow through physically. They are trained to march straight forward, effectively plowing right through the crowd if necessary. At this initial level, the guard's primary objective is maintaining the momentum and strict integrity of their patrol route. A wandering civilian's comfort is not part of the equation. The dynamic changes completely when passive obstruction turns into active disrespect. Tourists frequently push the limits by mocking a sentry's march, or even throwing objects, like a glove, expecting the guard to break character and fetch it. These military zones are clearly demarcated. Brass rails, heavy chains, and metal gates explicitly separate the public space from the restricted area, yet visitors consistently choose to step over them. This triggers the Level 2 military response. The guard breaks their silence, not with a standardized marching command, but with a fierce, targeted verbal threat directed squarely at the trespasser. This is a sudden, aggressive pivot. The guard squares up and adopts a rigid, defensive posture to firmly reprimand the individual. This deliberate break in protocol is a calculated psychological tactic. The goal is to severely startle the trespasser, forcing immediate compliance before the situation requires physical engagement. Then there are the severe breaches. When an individual poses a direct security threat, attempts to climb perimeter gates, or hops the chains at a sacred monument, the guards escalate to their highest tier of response. At the tomb of the unknown soldier, a trespasser crossing the boundaries will immediately trigger a terrifying auditory warning, the loud, metallic clack of a sentinel racking a live round into the chamber of their rifle. Across the Atlantic, tourists attempting to test limits by climbing the iron gates of Buckingham Palace face a similar immediate reaction. The sentinel will swiftly unshoulder their weapon, aiming a loaded SA-80 assault rifle directly at the trespasser to neutralize the threat on the spot. Even specialized units have their own equivalents for this level of escalation. The Queen's household cavalry, while mounted on horseback, will loudly threaten aggressors and quickly draw their swords. At Level 3, the illusion of the silent, harmless performer is entirely shattered. The trespasser is now face-to-face with a combat-ready soldier, fully authorized to use lethal force. When a guard suddenly yells, readies a weapon, or marches aggressively into a crowd, they are never acting out of anger or snapping under pressure. These escalating actions are the precise, disciplined execution of strict military doctrine. This rigid procedural framework safeguards both the post and the public, effectively handling threats while giving civilians ample opportunity to back down unharmed. The physical chains, metal rails, and established patrol paths are not mild suggestions to help you frame a better vacation photo. They are active, strictly enforced military borders. The famous silence of these sentinels is simply the extreme focus of a lethal soldier. Keep your distance, read the signs, and show absolute respect.